damn diddly squit moment. And then, out of seemingly nowhere, actually I know exactly how it happened, I was playing Chivalry, and I was practicing my counters. Because in Chivalry, there's a thing called perfect countering, and if you do it, that's how you win fights. But the thing is, what you can do is you can actually feint into counters, or you can counter feint into other things. Oh no, someone's going to hit you with a side attack, you can do a raw counter, or you can try to fake them out. If you try to counter, then you immediately go in for an overhead. You probably won't be able to block it as easily as if you're trying to do something like a overhead into a stab, or trying to go into a heavy swing only to kick them in the face. Then it kinda dawned on me. Why was this fun? This entertaining to me. And it was entertaining to me because I was thinking a lot. I was, looking at things. I was trying to outwit my enemy. Soon. I was trying to outwit my enemy as well as they were trying to outwit me. We were both playing a game of gambling. Do I defend? Do I block? Do I back up? Or do I go on the offense? All trying to manage our little stamina bars to make sure that we don't get immediately disarmed and then subsequently beheaded. Then I looked up a game that I played quite a bit of. A game I actually quite enjoyed, which I will never be able to stream because it's a massive fucking game and it would kill any attempt at streaming it. That was Overgrowth. Overgrowth is by far one of the most detailed martial arts drop-kick simulator games I've ever played. It's very entertaining. The entire idea is, you're a rabbit, and guess what? You go around punching, kicking, and beating the shit out of things you don't like. Oh hey, there's an enemy, what do I do? Drop kick it. Oh hey, there's an enemy. He's approaching me, what do I do? Sweep the legs and beat his fucking skull in. Oh hey. There's a dog approaching me, it's time for an overhand kick. And it does use the very, I would say, frantic combat system. And I do enjoy the frantic nature of the fights. I even go to Bunny Warfare here, you can kind of see some of the gameplay, even down to things like how the fights actually play out. Fights are very quick, they're very deadly. Sometimes it only takes 1 or 2 hits to go down. And actually going into a fight in Overgrowth is something very problematic. You're probably going to die. But it's all about learning about where it is and how you're going to be managing it. Which did leave me to another game. This is Sifu. This is a beat-em-up game, technically. You play as a guy going on an adventure to avenge his, I believe his father or his master. And doing that, you fight your way through a bunch of enemies. The gimmick being that if you die, you technically get brought back to life with +1 on your age. Which, if you want to get the super cool, mega true ending, you have to pretty much beat the game without dying. A very long game, but it's a very difficult one. Which then led me to their previous project, another game that I quite enjoy, which is Absolver, which is another kung fu game about beating the shit out of one another and was well received as well as a brick in your lawnmower. Which then this led me to the Yakuza series, which led me to the various Yakuza games, which is, you guessed it, a game about being buff men beating the shit out of other men in dramatic combat. This led me to a very interesting thought. Yeah, the core of all fighting games is just mind games, so Dive Kick is the perfect fighting game. But I wanted to get a very certain kind of fighting game in there, because I actually already wrote a fighting game. Most accurately, I wrote Fists of Chaos, Beast Mode, to be precise. This is a fighting game. This entire thing is supposed to emulate fighting games. Hello, Yuri. Oh god. I'm not a Coomer, by the way. This game is supposed to actually represent that. It's supposed to be about getting into fights and ripping your arms off of your enemies, as well as stabbing them with a knife to really take them the fuck out. It's a deadly game. It's a quick game. It's a action-packed one, but more in the lines of Tekken, which Tekken is probably my favorite fighting game because it's very fun to watch. And because in lore, the president of Poland is technically a fighter. Let's not forget that, everybody. The person who runs Poland is technically a main fighter in Tekken's roster. God bless you, Tekken. Yeah, I kind of based it off a few different franchises for this one, just with that idea of it being kind of like a fighting game. You're going in, you're planning your moves out, and you even have things of trying to make sure that your rekkas work properly, which, by the way, your rekkams aren't going to work properly. They never work properly. Now, this game has its own interesting sets of problems and issues, however. You see kind of things here. What I wanted to go is less strict fighting game and more about, how do I want to word this? Trying my best to not necessarily emulate. How do I want to? Now, I use the term Arkham Combat because Arkham's probably the one that's used it before. However, the technical term is free flow combat. The idea of free flow combat is, if we go here, it's kind of the idea that you're bouncing between enemies constantly. You are moving between various enemies and hitting them with various attacks, with the idea being more, you're not supposed to get hit. You're supposed to gradually move from position to position and beating the absolute snot out of your enemies. Am I trying to adapt video game mechanics to the table? Yes, I am. Will it work? I do not know. But I started thinking about it a little. The core idea, at its very minimum, is if we take a bunch of dudes on the map, you're a dude in the middle, it's being able to jump from one person to another, trying to take them out, often in the form of counterattacks, or trying to dodge out of the way of their attacks to immediately hurt them. Ultimately, these games are brawlers, which is the idea of you go into an arena, you fight some enemies, you go to the next arena to fight some more enemies. Now, adapting this is somewhat difficult, mostly because, I'm going to hate to break it to everybody, we ain't video games. Video games will always have one very important factor over us in every single possible situation. Also, I would like to thank Zephyr for following. I would like to say, they have the ability to auto-calculate shit. That's like one major advantage that they will always have over us, is the ability to say, if I leap to a target and I hit a button, Batman is going to throw his fist out and he's going to hit somebody for X amount of damage. We will always know that. Now, let's just break this down, which is, Batman punches Goon for X damage. Batman combos Goon for YZ damage because he's hit twice. Now, what's occurring here, this is the interesting bit, is on the table, we have to do three things. We have to calculate the punch, we effectively have to do the 2-hit into the damage, and then we have to do the combo, and if that has a 2-hit or something to generally say if you are actually striking the enemy, as well as their damage. That's technically 4 rolls, potentially, possibly even more. This isn't even factoring in things like movement. Where are you allowed to move up to somebody? Is that a part of your action? Is that not part of your action? Is there another factor to that entirely? And these may be multiple rolls or multiple different checks, and it's like, how do you actually make that without just saying, well, you do 2 damage to all enemies that you hit, but then we just start getting into freeform bullshit, and that's not how we do things here, because there's still a degree of skill in these games. Who do you prioritize? How do you dodge? It's more about reaction, which is kind of a big thing, which is reaction is paramount. These are what these games are. They're rhythm games at the end of the day, and it's about maintaining that rhythm. Adaptation to the table is understanding that it is a table. That's kind of one of the big things I want to kind of work on today. We need to understand that what we're working with is an analog medium. We're not working with a digital medium. We're not working with something that the magic internet box can fix for us. Now, you may be saying, well, what about VTTs? Very different idea, but more along the idea of, I need to be able to roll dice. There has to be something analog. There's something is present in an analog format. There's been a debate about the idea of like AI DMs and things like that, which, if you remove the analog aspect to these games, if you take out the idea of you having to roll dice, if you take out the idea of player choice and the impact of such, what are you left with? And there are some interesting debates and interesting conversations to have about that, but this isn't the place for it. But the idea is, how do we adapt Arkham Combat? How do we adapt that free-flowing nature without compromising the fact that this is an analog game, analog girl with digital buttons? How do we adapt this? And the two ideas I have so far aren't great ideas, mind you, so this is why I rubber duck with you all. If we go here, get my little drawer out here, we go bump, 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 bump. There's a game called Necronica. You may have heard about it before. You may not have heard about it before, but the idea is very simple. You have an action point counter. Now, these action points actually do quite a few things. Most notably, it's the idea of this is your initiative as well as when you're acting. So, for example, if I have 7 action points and I spend 2 of them to perform an action, my next action is on 5. If I spend 3 action points, it goes to 1, 2, 3. I'm now at 2 action points. And finally, if I overspend, let's say I spend 2 more action points and go to -1, or let's say I spend 3 and I'm at -1, my next time I'm going to have less action points in general. But the entire idea is that you are constantly trying to manage doing bigger actions, which cost more, as well as trying to make sure that you kind of are understanding where you are in this line effectively. Having a lot of action points mean you're going first. Doing a big action might mean you're going far later, especially when there are enemies here. Why I'm thinking this is a decent idea, pretty simple, is what we can do now is effectively have our character, our characters have to manage these action points of some variety. How I want to do them yet, I don't know, but bear with me. And as you're managing these action points, you're being able to distribute them to various enemies and various problems around you. You're more able to deal with threats that are present. And it's you jumping around the field. It's, oh, I want to move and attack this guy. Okay, he's out. I want to move and attack this person. Okay, he's out. This person's trying to attack you. I'm going to use some of my action points to counter or block or do something like that. It's a resource game. Now, the issue here is pretty simple. It's a resource game, and it suddenly becomes about numbers. And Necronica gets around this by virtue of the fact that Necronica characters don't actually have a lot of character outside of their parts, which can get easily tore off. They don't really have anything about them that is theirs, necessarily. You don't have stats, necessarily, in Necronica. You don't have anything like that. That's not the point of the game. The game is about getting into combat. And in case anyone's like, but that's not the point of the Necronica, shut the fuck up. One of the big ideas here is that we'd obviously need stats, because this is your character, you're going to be playing this character for at least a little while. We need to give them something to do. And obviously we can't have parts or anything like that because this is a game about being costume superheroes doing costume superhero things. So that's kind of one idea, which I was debating on employing actually Soldat Sans Identité's flow system. Soldat Sans Identité was another game I wrote with the idea of flow being the more actions you're doing, you're actually building up the total amount of flow you're doing. And flow is both a resource saying how fast you're going, which is kind of your initiative, as well as how do I want to word this? It's a resource that you can spend to not only dictate your current initiative, but also your ability to do things. If you have really high flow, that means you can do a lot more things, but you're acting first as well. So you want to burn off that flow well, especially if you have something like a bigger weapon, which you can't build that much. You constantly are kind of trying to manage it. Will this work? I have no idea. I'm kind of working. Why was that posted? Why am I seeing Koof's ass in my fucking why? But yes, so that's kind of one idea. The other idea is like kind of just I don't know how to word this, but kind of like an open initiative system, which is the idea of like the players are going to be acting first. You know, if we kind of, you know, think of these as, let's just think of like these are the number of enemies or something. The players, on the other hand, by virtue of this kind of an anomalous system, they're choosing to perform a set of actions that they're having to dedicate a resource to do. Effectively, this game is going to be about resources. It's how much of this resource am I willing to give up in exchange for taking out 2 or 3 enemies, and how much do I want to kind of save for defense. If I'm like, okay, I want to save a lot for defense, I'm not going to be able to actually take out as many enemies as I might want, but I might be able to cover my allies. So it's kind of this more structured initiative versus the more anomalous one. Because, fun fact, there isn't a good option here. Originally, I was thinking about actually using Yakuza like a Dragon's combat system, because this is actually a fully turn-based combat system. As you can kind of see here, this is actually a full-on turn-based combat system. It's a little bit goofy, but that's kind of the point. It's Yakuza, but they still kind of try to maintain the let's call it flavor of things, as well as you are going through and beating the shit out of your enemies. This doesn't quite work for my intent, for the very simple reason of it's a little bit too structured in how it's done, and it's hard to represent the ideas, some of the more deeper concepts in that particular game, just in an analog format. Because one of the larger ideas in Yakuza, like a dragon, is the fact that enemies are actually moving around. And one of the bigger ideas is that you're supposed to be able to, you know, kind of like hop on an enemy to do something. Being like, okay, they're next to all their friends, so I want to use an AoE attack on them real fast. Or it's like, I'm on the other side of the map, of the battlefield, I have to run up to them to attack, which somebody else could kind of get to me. By knock an enemy down over by one of my allies, they can go in for a quick attack. There's a lot more nuance to this version of the game, to this combat system, which there's a lot of nuance to the combat system that is impossible to represent in an analog format. And I don't mean that for lack of trying. I mean that quite literally in the idea that you just can't adapt some of these things, because this isn't I cannot expect the GM to be this autonomous super machine who's going to be like constantly moving the enemies around all the time to do with the no, that's not going to be entertaining in anyone's front. Yeah, I bet it's totally possible. It would just be so slow, it's exceptionally boring to play. That's the issue. It works in a digital format, but not in an analog format. Which you have to think in an analog format. I've been trying to find a way to do the Yakuza combat system. Because Yakuza is very simply just a brawler. You go up to an enemy, you hit a button, and yeah, Kiryu punches somebody. And it's about stringing together bigger combos and often trying to perform a heat action of some variety. I've stunned an enemy, I perform a heat action, I slam them up against a wall, they're out of the fight. Hey, I have this bicycle in my hand, I'm going to use this bicycle to savage a man, and now he's out of the fight. I do a lot more damage, go bang, 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 he's out of the fight. Now, Sifu has a similar mechanic, which Sifu's a lot more mechanically dense than Yakuza. That's why I was kind of thinking, like, okay, maybe like we do Sifu stamina bar. No, it's the I can't remember what they called it. Balance. I think that's what it's called. Do we have a good... Okay, you kind of see it here. This is the idea of balance. If this fills up all the way, you get knocked off balance, but you also want to do that to your enemies. You knock an enemy down for their full balance, you usually can automatically perform a takedown, which is either going to do a shit ton of damage or take them out outright. Now, that got me thinking a little bit. What can we do to emulate this? What can we do to make this a lot easier to understand? Dense mechanics, simple to understand. Enemies don't really need to do things because you're constantly going back and forth. So it's like, alright, maybe we can do this. Maybe if I base it off of this game, instead of going straight to Yakuza, we can have a little bit of both. That's the hard part, though, is how do you make it work? That's why I was thinking of using kind of an adapted version of the beat system. Because the beat system is pretty simple. It's, you have every action you are encouraged to do something else to increase your beat die. It goes from, D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and you want to keep building up, and then you want to spend it off to do something big. Here we'd be doing something a little bit different with it. It's kind of the idea of like, here's a bunch of action points to do something with. How much are you willing to spend versus how much are you willing to use to defend yourself? You go too high, you might not be able to take out the enemy and defend yourself. If you go too low, the enemy is going to be able to hit. And you might take damage from it. You might not take damage from it. Kind of depends, but you're always burning something to use it. Now, that's the beautiful thing about this. How do we make this work? How do we make the counter combat system work in this manner? Now, for actual like core system ideas, what I was thinking about doing is bear with me here, kind of like a XD, kind of like a XD system, which is just using D6s. Why am I just using D6s? Because D6s are not only easy, they also have a very simple range to them. 1 through 6, that means you have about 2 of everything. I could be like, oh, well, we can use D12s or something like that. I'm like, I could use D12s for this. However, does that actually help anything, or would it just be cumbersome? That's kind of the issue with this, is that I need to make this snappy, and I need to make this fast. What I was thinking about doing is having something like the idea of like, oh, you have a muscle score of 3. At any time, you're going to roll 3d6, and you're going to either, I was thinking either tally the results, being so it's like I rolled a 6, 4, and a 3, I would end up with a 13, or it's going to be more along the idea of maybe a success system. Or we can also go with the basic idea of just a roll and keep system, and that's kind of we need to keep things flowing nicely, which is going to be the important idea of this game, which is the idea of flow. If there's no flow, something is wrong. Now, this is where, again, it's kind of like, how do we want to do this? Because we can either go down the roll, we can either do like an additive dice pool. It's additive dice pool. We can do a success-based dice pool. Or it's kind of more like a roll and keep system. Why am I not doing like a 1d6 plus whatever the score is? because I want to keep the idea of having to like split between, you know, offense and defense in certain situations, which is, hey, I have a certain amount of dice that I can use in this situation. What am I willing to kind of dedicate? Like, I want to dedicate 4 dice to offense, but that's only going to leave me 1 dice for defending myself. I want to dedicate 2 dice for offense, but I want to keep 3 for defending myself. I want that to be a thing, so I kind of need to keep the idea of a dice pool up and going. But it's kind of like, how do I want to do this? And simple answer is this: an additive system. That's really the simplest answer, which is, hey, you're dedicating 3 dice for an attack and 2 dice for defense. Cool. You're going to take your 3d6, you're going to roll, and you rolled a 14. They have 2d6 for defense. They rolled a 5 and a 6. They rolled an 11. So you're going to do X amount of damage. You've punched them in the face, they do damage. Which the idea there, though, doesn't quite work fully, though. That's kind of the... if you haven't quite caught the nature of this game yet, that doesn't quite work the way I want it to. Which is... I have a feeling is going to be a running fucking theme with this game. Well, let's think about this in clearer terms. Let's think about this in just raw, clear terms. I want to simulate jumping at somebody, punching them in the face, swinging around, and punching another guy in the face. I want to simulate that very simply. All I want to do is take my little basic little stick man here. I want to, I don't know why I drew him that way, but it do be that way sometimes. I'll take my little stick man here. And I want him to jump over there. I want him to punch another guy in the face. And then I want him to immediately go to another person to punch him in the face. Now, easy answer would be like being able to like split like a dice pool up and just like you have to divvy it up. So you might end up with like you have like 4 or 5, like 4 combat dice. That means you have to split it up, be like, okay, I want to do 2 to this guy, 2 to this guy, and then you would roll it for each. So you're trying to split up your attack. That would be the simple answer, but that's very rarely the right one. I wonder, do we have anything to reference here? This is the important aspect. Because I'm gonna be a secret. That's not really something simple. Because I even Googled them, like, tell me about martial arts TRPGs. They don't exist. It's pretty much what people are like, oh, just play Feng Shui, or like Legends of Wulin. Like, that's not really what we're looking at. Then you get things like Wushu. Wushu is barely a game. You gotta remember that. It is barely a game. It's pretty much just describe stuff and roll a bunch of d6s. So it's like, okay. That like, I don't know why this person's citing Tenra Banjo fucking 0. Like, again, it's one of those things like... You end up in extremes of both situations, where it's like heavy crunch. Additive dice pool with exploding dice, but the exploding dice don't add to the roll. They determine how many extra you get to push, hit, spend, pick up a bicycle, and throw it. So more along the idea of kind of like if we roll a 4, 3, 2, and a 6, the idea would be we add these all together, so it would be 7, why did I do this awkward number, 9, it would be technically a result of 15. Result of 15 with a plus, kind of the worry about. So it's kind of, explosions aren't necessarily an exploding dice. Yeah, it's extra effects. Or what we can do with that, we can do the idea of paying it forward. We can do the idea of paying, of like, we'll call it like pay it forward. Which is kind of the idea which allows you to string certain dice together a little bit. So if we have like a, let's say our combat pool is, let's say our combat pool is 5. We roll our dice. We got 2 6s, 2 5s, and a 2. Our total roll for punching this dude in the fucking face, effectively, is 12, 18, is 24. We fucking punched this dude right in the goddamn noggin. He's fucked up. But we got 2 of these extra effects to play around with, so we can do something with these. We can do something like, hey, I want to pay these dice forward. I get to use these dice again for my next roll. So my combat pool, Jesus fuck. My combat pool is allowed to do other things with it. So it's kind of the pay it forward. You're paying things forward to string together various actions. But you can also spend, say, hey, I want to hit this guy really hard. You can spend those as an extra to do extra damage, or you're spending those to do something else. So this is where you would have your heat actions, unless we use... Yeah, exactly. Exploding dice affect the next guy in line, not your next roll. What I would say to that is, you can do things to pay things forward in different ways. You can pay things forward for your own attack, but again, you have, let's say, just that 5 dice pool. You're spending those 3 dice you already spent are gone, so you only have the 2, but the next guy in line, you can say, I'm going to pay it forward to you. You're giving him 2 extra dice, so he's rolling 7 dice or something now. He has a really big chance. Or you can be, if you want to split actions up a little bit, again, it's paying it forward. You can either pay yourself forward, which isn't as efficient, but you may just be like, I just need to jump to the next guy, or I need to move real fast, or I need to use an action to do that. Or you can pay it forward to your friend to do something, to give them something. It's kind of that toss up. Like, you can be selfish or you can be selfless. If you're selfless, they're getting a bigger, grander effect. All right, we can work with that. So you always want to pay things forward, which then we can actually obfuscate. No, we would be able to, you know what we could do? We can keep the idea of the gambling dice in as well a little bit. So yeah, so it's kind of like you want to keep, you're using this pool, but you can split your pool up to do other things. But again, obviously, if you're rolling fewer dice, how durable are enemies? Most likely they're not going to be super durable. Most of them are. Luckily, since we're basing it off a very certain series and certain kind of games, enemies don't need to be super durable, but we can have some very different variations of enemies. Which is like, here's the big guy. We've all encountered the big guy in the brawler. The big guy in the brawler is going to take a lot of damage, but he's very slow, and he's going to pack a punch. He's going to knock your ass on the ground, so you have to be a little bit more agile with things. Okay, all right. So actually, if we use the pay it forward, we'll call it the pay it forward system for now. So if we want to do like 6, if we do like a 6 equals, with a 6, you can pay it forward, but here's what we could do actually. Forward 6, dice pool additive. Dice pool additive. It's an additive dice pool. Additive dice pool plus pay it forward. Plus the pay it forward idea. But the pay it forward idea is Sixes. Yeah, so you're always kind of paying it. Pretty much, you're generating. If you generate big successes, you can immediately give those dice to other people. You're giving them pretty much more opportunity to help them out, which they might need it. Even if it's down to the fact of like, hey, you're going all out with this attack. You have 2 extra dice to now play with here that you may need. But what we can do is we can also keep in with the idea of this is the big one. We can also keep in the idea of straining action. We can do straining actions, which is the idea of this is more. We want to keep the idea of it's kind of like the gambling HP, which is spend HP to spend HD. I'm going to say kind of straining and burning HP, actions, but it would be kind of the idea of if you strain, it's you're just getting extra x plus you're getting plus dice by virtue of like you're just increasing the amount of dice in your pool by virtue of doing so. Actually, no, if we do you strain, you're adding pips. If you burning equals plus dice. With the idea being of pips, so let's take our other roll, our 6-6-5-5-2. What we can do is, if we are straining, we can say, hey, I want to increase my 5s. I want to increase these to a 6. I want to go, okay, if we're doing good, I want to increase these to a 6. I want to increase these to a 6. I've burnt 2 of my health, but now I can pay forward 4 actions. I'm burning my own health to do this, though. If I'm losing health, I'm doing something else like that. But if I say, okay, I want to burn a few of my health points, I get to roll some extra dice, and that might be able to let me pay it forward a little bit more. I don't know how I want to do that yet. No, we're not doing anything like that. Superheroes, my friend. Not Destiny, or Warframe, technically. Destiny Frame. The most cursed existence. Let's think. How do we add in the gambling idea? Actually, if we do like if we choose to so it's kind of like one of those things, like, let's say, for example, we have 4 in our muscle. So if our natural, let's say we're doing like a muscle attack, we're just beating the shit out of someone, our basic pool is going to be 4. But I can say, hey, since I have a 4, I can strain up to 4 more dice. I can pretty much double my pool, but if, if we're rolling everything together, we roll, and it's like, I roll beneath a certain amount, but it's like, okay, I've taken 2 damage by virtue of doing this because I didn't do things well. Something has gone wrong and I've taken damage. Like, but even want to that even kind of like you're gambling HP, you're gambling health, with the idea being that you want to continuously burn yourself down. But burning yourself down isn't sometimes the best idea. So maybe we can do it in more along the idea of keep stats low so you're always encouraged to kind of risk more and more. So we want to do like, what am I looking at here? What am I thinking? Like, it's up here. Hmm. Hmm. Or we can just say fuck it and just go strict at, it's like, characters may, characters may willingly strain for a +1 pip, or actually, here's what we can do. You can may willingly strain for a +1 pip, or burn for +1 die, with the idea being that straining is temporary damage, I wouldn't call it balance, but I'm going to call it balance here, is balance damage, while burning is kind of meat damage. So it's kind of like one of those issues that you're dealing with, that no matter what damage you're taking, you're always going to be increasing like this strain a little bit. Like there's going to be a point where you need to back the fuck off and just relax, because you're going to get knocked off balance. You're going to lose the rhythm effectively. Someone's going to hit you, you're going to get stunned, something bad's going to happen. If you strain, you're willingly increasing that second variable, which is going to be more painful, but you're being able to say, hey, instead of rolling a 5, I rolled a 6, allowing me to pay it forward. Instead of rolling, if I only have like a combat dice of 3, it's like, okay, I need to make sure that I can do 2 more actions, so I'm going to take both of my 4s here and spend 4 in total, strain for 4, and now I have 3 6s, and I can now do another action. I've hit you for, I've done 18, I can now hit you again. I can now pay everything forward to maybe my next ally, but I'm completely off my fucking game now. So, how would we implement balance? Effectively, it would be two currencies that are now, it's 2 bars that are being, effectively, the issue would be, now we have two resources to manage. We have health, and we would have this, balance mechanic, whatever this balance is. Unless we have like a single one, like what would be because what we can do is we can tie it to Sifu as well. Well, actually, we can. I might be getting a little bit hard on the Sifu thing, but hey, if it works, it fucking works. Which is, yeah, here's the old boy fucking combat scene. Because this is the idea. Because if you're looking at this, you see these balance bars here. This is the idea. Is like if your balance bar hits full, you can take them down immediately without having to reduce their health all the way. So you kind of even see here, like, he's taking this guy out. And he hits her. It's pretty much one of those things, like, you can take them out normally by just beating the shit out of them, or you can try to knock them off balance. If you hit their balance all the way, suddenly you don't even have to worry about their health bar as much, which we can do for, bigger and smaller, we can do for different enemies, which is like, hey, maybe we just want to deal pretty much strain damage to you. Because if we do that, if we just do strain damage to you, we can take you down a lot easier. The issue being, hey, we have to strain you. We know we're expending an action to do this. It fucks the economy. The idea being that it's fucking your economy up a little bit. Because at all times you're doing that, you're burning actions that could be used for something else. Because you're always using something. So it's just an economy game. But well, how do we do that straining mechanic? How would you do that strain? Unless we do something along the lines of... Easiest answer would be... You have that, and you're then taking this, you know, something bad is going on. You're taking, like, a token or something that suddenly, you know, these are not doing too hot. Unless we do, like, guys, how... If we want to treat health as a reason, health is always depleting. You never have enough health. But it's, you still have a decent-sized health bar, but the health bar is a very, flighty, I guess would be the correct term, flighty resource. It's something that isn't going to stay around forever. So, I mean, it, like, what would we, it's like, okay, alternates. What would be the best way of doing that? I am now a gun owner. Ironside, I like you a lot. Don't be a, don't on hero. Please don't on hero. That would look very bad on me. It's not for me, it's for everyone else. Like, yeah, alright, Ironside. Alright, buddy. Don't put me in the fucking letter. Ugh, God, what do I want to do? See, this is one of those beautiful things. We've got it. We're getting it, everybody. We're doing it. We are, as they say in the hood, gaming. But how do we track this secondary resource that it's entertaining to actually track? Unless we do something like strain is like your action points? Maybe? Like, how would we do, like, because this is effectively a secondary health bar. So again, in a game like, in a video game, what would occur would be like, hey, you are, you know, you have, you know, health, you know, 100 out of 100, and you'd have like, you know, like your your block meter or whatever the fuck you would call it, which is 0 out of 100. Every time you block an attack, you know, every time you block an attack, it would go up by a certain amount. So it's like, if it hits 100, your block is broken, resets down to 0, but you are on your ass, something bad's happening. Pretty much what I would want to happen in this game is your health is, instead of meat points HP, you have a clock. I don't like where this is going, McDrew Salt, but continue. I hear the word clock and I get a little bit worried. I'm getting a little bit spooky wookied there. Hmm. Effectively, it would be stun damage, is what I'm looking at here is stun, like a stun damage. Instead of attacks that go through strain, lower HP, you have a chance of ticking the clock. That way, you can take more hits while not exactly having. I get where I'm. It wouldn't. The thing is, it wouldn't necessarily be going through strain. That's the idea. The idea would be if your strain. Let's say your strain hits full. Effectively, you're exposed. Something bad's going on. You can take health damage. Like, you can take actual health damage before your strain is even full. It's not like an overshield or anything like that. It's it would be literally a secondary bar that you would have to worry about, because it would be effectively like if we think of like this is your health bar kind of thing. If we think of this as your health bar, your strain would be slowly ticking upward. Which is, if you hit full, if you max everything out, bad. On kind of like minor enemies, it would be like, yeah, you could now spend an action to immediately take them out. On major enemies, you could do a big power attack. They won't be able to defend themselves or something, which goes to you as well, which is like, okay, instead of being able to use my dice more accurately, I've lost all my dice, or like I've lost everything now because I'm getting knocked out. Unless we can do something like, what am I looking at here? Because like this idea works. I think this works just fine, but I'm trying to think of like the best way of doing it. If we wanted to use like basic attributes, obviously muscle, because of course we're putting in muscle in this game. Why the fuck wouldn't we? Muscle mask manly. What would be good? Muscle, we can apply muscle to like just strength. Mask would be kind of more along the idea of your social. It would be more of like your social quip. It'd be your quip ability, effectively. Your Spider-Man ability. Your ability to be Spider-Man. The most important ability in a superhero game. If we do muscle mask, and then we would do I do like macho. Depends how many dice you get to. It's That would be funny. That would be a funny way of doing things. Maybe we keep the stats low. But what would we change flexibility to? We want to keep everything in M's. Flexibility to mobility. Perhaps keep all the stats M. Yeah, I like mobility. Okay. Yeah, muscle, mask, mobility, macho. So if we apply the idea, muscle is your ability to pretty much power through attacks. That's your ability to block. That's your ability to punch. That's your ability to effectively, physically it's your physicality. It's not only just how fucking buff you are. It's generally just how, how much of you are. How big you are more than anything. Mask is your ability, it's your social ability, it's your quippiness, it's you embodying the character effectively. It's you becoming, Mr. Fuck it, you are college boy. And college boy is gonna jump in there with with his spandex Speedo on and kick your ass. College boy is gonna do that, and people like college boy, they don't like you as much. Mobility is you being strong, and it's more about you being agile, being able to dodge attacks, being able to do quick hits. Macho is kind of your intelligence. It's your ability to kind of bullshit things on top of your head. Actually, we can do that. It's a combination of just how macho stupid you are, as well as just the amount of bullshit. Change the word quip to macho. I mean, we can do, yeah, I guess if we do, I guess we would need it, like, sounds terrible to say, but it's like, what would be a good word for, like, kind of like being smart? Unless we just make everybody, that's kind of the joke, which, like, everybody's just a fucking idiot. Like, you are all just dumbasses, and you're just as smart as your character is. So if you're just a dumb person, you're just gonna be dumb. Like, well, let's see, muscle, mask, mobility, macho. Feels like there should be a fifth, or do we just go with M4? There feels like there should be a fifth, doesn't there? What am I thinking of? What am I thinking of? Not having a we can either go with mind, or we cut out the brainy stats, and we could probably try to add in something else, because like muscle, mobility. I guess we can have would be a good what am I thinking of? Let's brainstorm some fun words, everybody. Some fun M words. Let's see, we can have maverick, measure, means. What's some other fun and exciting M words? It's like hell Scrabble. Length and girth are important after all. Mastery. Oh, oh God, it would be memory, mercy. Like, I guess you could do, like, this is like your heroic ideal kind of thing, like just how fucking heroic you are. Memory could work, like, memory could work as like an intelligence stat. It's like just how, like, are you actually being able to remember shit? Mouth. Mouth could see it. Mouth would be perfect I guess, the mouth would be perfect if we wanted another social stat, unless we switch out macho for like mouth being more social while macho is more bullshit. Mustache. I can see it. What am I looking at here? Because if we look at this, if we think of this being more like muscle is more of our kind of like our physical stat, mask is more of our like hero identity, more of our like hero identity. Actually, we can kind of do like heroism, you know, your heroism ability, like you being like a heroic person, which you can probably use in different roles. I don't quite know how I want to do that one yet. Mystery would be funny. Mobility is just your raw agility. That's like how fast you are. Macho is kind of like your social ability. Let's think. Mystery would work. Mystery would work. Means work. God, there's so many good ones. Fuck. Magnificence, yeah, not really. That would not work. See, if we go with the idea of mystery, like this would be like we can treat mystery as more of like your social stat, like kind of like your intelligence. Like it's your ability to solve mysteries because you're just mysterious as fuck. So if you want to play Batman, you would just max mystery, allure. Wait, all M's? Yes, only M's. I don't know how we got it to just being just M's, but if we do this, and we can probably do like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kind of thing. Like you just, yeah, if we do that, that should be a good amount. Mystery is current, like mystery and mask. Like I like the idea of mask. I don't know how to implement it though. Because if we do the idea of mask being like, this is your, I guess we can use it as kind of like a derived stat. It's like mask is your ability to be heroic. Macho, like we can do it like heroism on and off, like with or without the mask on kind of thing. Like if you're in your hero persona, you're gonna be using mask a lot. If you're more in your normal guy persona, you're gonna be using macho a lot, which is kind of like what are you kind of like trying to deal with more than anything. That could work. And mask is the one I like. Mask. I cannot for the life of me think of a good. When would I use mask? That's the idea. Unless again, it's like just super heroic, like heroics kind of thing. Like I guess we can use mask more along the idea of like willpower. You kind of see what I'm going with here? Kind of like, hey, you're playing up to the mask. You're being who you are, being a hero. It's your raw kind of, yeah. We use it as like willpower and then like heroism and stuff like that. Which is, you know, yeah, exactly. Nobody cared until I put on the mask. You know, mask is being luck and avoiding fear. Yeah, you know, mask is kind of like your ability to, you know, it's like, oh, well, as long as I wear this, I'm not a normal guy. I'm college boy, you know, in your fucking, you know, latex Speedo as, you know, you fight crime or whatever. Okay, so yeah, no, that works a little bit more. So instead of being like raw heroism, it would actually be more along the idea of like willpower. Mystery being kind of intelligence. Yeah, alright, so these work pretty well. And if we assign attributes kind of more like, I guess we can even cut it down a little bit more. We can do something like 4 3 3 2 2 1. Actually, no, it'd be 4. We do something like that. Like your lower, you need to kind of work together, and like one stat is not going to be good. So it's like, oh hey, if we're using like, let's say for example, college boy. This will be welcome to our very sample character. We'll do college boy. His muscle is going to be 4. His mask is going to be 2. His mobility is 3. His macho is 2. His mystery is 1. He's not very intelligent, so anytime he makes a mask check, he's gonna roll, and it's like, oh, he rolled double 6s. He rolled 12. He can now choose to add 2 more 6s to his roll. He can pay it forward, or he can give somebody else a bonus. So it's like, okay, extra effects. I guess what we can do is like, yeah, because if we do this, we keep the stats relatively low, so you're not rolling too many dice at any one time. That comes with the idea of paying it forward a lot more, which is, the second you do get that momentum a little bit, you're able to kind of be like, okay, we're working together a little bit more. We're allowing people to have a little bit more to kind of play around with. I guess from here what we can do is we do that. Gonna be a little bit cursed looking, but what we can do is then have like a secondary, like these are your main attributes up here. Then we can have like a secondary set of attributes, which would be like combat, like we would do like offensive, defensive, special. Actually, if we really want to, we can do something like strikes, wrestling. Actually, no, what we can, let's consult Gachimuchi Nirvana. This Gachimuchi Nirvana Seekers actually has a oh yeah, I like that. Oh, let's do either all O's or all A's. So or oh. You never realized, but we were all just Gachimuchi superstars. I guess we can do something like so if we do the idea of like orient, like not orientation, not orient, like that's like the idea of reorient. So this is like, because I'm gonna type in orient here just to give you an idea why we don't use the word orient, not the East. Because if we use the idea of reorient, which is change the focus of something, so orienting something just means you're doing that, but orient has become just the direction, which we can't use because the English language is stupid. So yeah, so we go, so effectively what I would want this to be, this would be like striking, wrestling, dodging, blocking, striking, wrestling, dodging, blocking, and what's that last one? I can see, I guess we could do something like move, like kind of like more fancy pants movement. And then we do something else, which is like, can we kind of put in like a special one? Unless we cancel out movement, replace it with like a special. So it'd be kind of like the idea, like I want to make a strike. Me striking someone's just like, I just want to bonk them in the face. But if I want to wrestle somebody, wrestling is kind of its own different way of, you know, dealing with people. So if we want to do, I want to dodge attacks. Some attacks you can't dodge, so you have to block them. Some attacks you can't block, so you need to dodge them. So we're kind of splitting up that nature there a little bit, which gives some certain characters a little bit more of an advantage in certain situations. If you're a really strong person, muscle blocking is going to be a lot more a lot better, because you're just saying, boom, I'm not taking any damage. I'm fine. I'm healthy. But if you want to do like, hey, I want to dodge. Muscle isn't going to help you dodge necessarily. It's your mobility is going to help you dodge. So if you might want to increase your dodge ranking over if you have low mobility, so you have the ability to do such, and you may not be as good as at blocking. Striking would just be like, I want to punch you. That would all striking would be. Wrestling is more about using the enemy against themselves. It would effectively be, I'm going to grab you and I want to throw you over my shoulder, or I want to pick you up to do something else with you. Because grabs are usually fairly important. So we can use, and of course, we're Gachi Muchi, we need to have wrestling in there somewhere. How do we want to word these, though? I do not. I mean, if we keep this just here. Actually, no. Let's remove that. We're gonna call this that other one. But yeah, no. If we do this, it would be like. So this would form your kind of like your dodge pool. This would be your block pool. This would be like a wrestling. If you want to do any wrestling attacks, it would be this. If you want to do any striking attack, it would be that. Because the idea of wrestle would be more targeting their strain. Striking would be more targeting their raw health, as we would say. If we do that kind of the basic same idea, we can do that. Again, this one's a little bit weird because either we go down the route of this is your like special ability. This is like your special, which is like, hey, I want to do a unique move, or I'm trying like a stunt or something. Actually, stunt wouldn't be a bad idea for this either. Like this would be like a stunt maneuver. I guess we can call it maneuver as well. Mobility maneuver plus. Actually, God, what do we call it? This would be the idea of you've hit somebody, and it's like that's you turning to the GM and saying, GM, Gachi Master, I want to, like kick a bucket at somebody. I want to kick something at them, or I want to like spin around. Like I want to do like a flying, fucking, WrestleMania move. I want to do something that's a little bit not covered by any of these. I want to do a stunt. You would do that, which stunt would be like, yeah, okay, you can do a stunt now to do that, which would be the same idea. Okay, so fuck, we'll call it stunts. I like stunts. I think that's stunting would be special defenses / attacks. These names aren't going to be final, but they work for now. And if we apply the same idea here, like at most because again, we want to keep things fairly episodic. I think keeping things episodic would be is better for the overall health of everything. Yeah, okay. So it would be like we're stringing up, at most, the highest amount of dice you're going to be rolling is 8. And that's you taking 8d6s, grabbing them all together, and saying, okay, what have I rolled here? And that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna roll well, like me right now, who rolled 4 fucking 1s, a 2, a 5, a 3, Jesus. With my 8d6, I rolled 4, 6, 9, I rolled 20 on 8d6. It doesn't mean you're gonna roll well if you're me, but you might also take a 3 and roll phenomenally well. Higher dice means you can pay more forward, but that might not be what you ideally need or want. So, okay, so I'm feeling good here. We've got the system actually kind of hammered out, which these actually feed into the idea of the gadgets, because what we can do is use gadgets to get ourselves more dice. Hey, I'm going to use... gadgets are either going to let us do a thing, or give us more dice. Hey, I'm wearing an armor piece. Like, I'm wearing, like, actual armor. It's slowing me down. You know, I'm not being able to move as efficiently anymore. But I'm able to, you know, I add 2 dice to my defense pool at all time. Anytime I'm blocking a blow, I'm going to be adding 2 dice to my pool. Which is good. But it's like, okay, I want to use my, you know, my fucking, you know, jockstrap of justice or something. I don't fucking know. If you use your, you know, your jock ray or whatever, you throw it at somebody in an attempt to, you know, stun them. You're using a resource. You're able to do something. You're making a stunt maneuver. You're making a strike maneuver, and you're trying to hit somebody with it. Okay. If we base these off the exact same, that could be work pretty well. And if we... This plays well into the teamwork aspect, which is the idea of not only do you have the pay it forward idea, you want to cover all your bases in certain mechanics where it's like, yeah, this guy is really good at blocking things. You need to also make sure that he's staying up. If he's not doing too hot, you may want to keep him alive. But the guy who's really good at blocking is going to be wanting to take blows for his friends a little bit. So it's like, okay, I'm going to take a blow for you. You need to... I guess we use the action point system, which we can then tie to like a momentum mechanic. If we tied like a basic combat encounter is... Like, basic combat encounters are pretty easy to understand. It's about, we'll just say we'll call it player-facing roles. So the GM doesn't actually need to roll any dice for any of his people. They're not rolling dice. They're just making a check. They'd be like, okay, they are 15 or whatever. Like, their attack power is 15. You need to beat 15 on your dice or whatever. Their attack power is 6. You just need to beat a 6 to actually block their attack or dodge their attack. But they might have like you know, you can't block this attack because they're hitting you super hard or whatever. Okay. And that's where the pay it forward methods do. So you always want to kind of deal with your enemies quickly because they're going to be able to fuck your day up a little bit. But then we have the idea of momentum combat, which is kind of another pay it forward situation, which is, you know, let's say you're making an attack, you roll, I got 1, I can say, I'm going to pay it forward. I've rolled decent, I've hit somebody, I'm going to pay this d6 forward, and instead of trying to make like another attack with it or something, or give it to somebody else, I'm going to say, I'm going to increase my momentum by 1 next time. And since my momentum is now increased by 1, I'm going to be rolling the amount of action points I get, whatever, every round is going to increase by 1. So next round, I'm going to roll like 2d6 plus... Actually, we can probably tie that to... things like something like macho. Actually, we can do So it's going to be like 2d6 plus macho plus whatever your momentum is. So it's like, oh, I've managed to roll a shit ton of actions because I'm impressive here. Okay. I'm feeling good in that regard, because if we combine all these together, we're going to have to add a lot of actions in, but that wouldn't be too difficult to... That's not going to be too difficult to do, because I can reference a few different things I've written before. The additive dice pool is going to be a little bit difficult, but what we can do is probably put in a... either we embrace it completely... Actually, you know what? We can maybe do... We do purely opposed rolls. So, like, an enemy is going to have, like, a defense of, like, 2d6, and they would just roll. So, like, yeah, you've hit over them, like, an insane amount, but you're also saying, hey, the enemy has 2d6, I have a combat pool of, like, 4 or 5d6, I only want to spend a certain amount of my combat pool on that. I want to spend the rest elsewhere. We can probably play around with that a little bit. Give people a decent sized combat pool that they have to burn through the entire round, which allows them to do a little bit more, or maybe not. I will think on that. This is currently the thing that's a little bit up for grabs. Ira, what are you doing? Hello, Sheepwife. Sheepwife wants new emotes. See, I should upload new emotes to my Twitch channel because my emotes suck and I love them all to death. All my emotes are flawless. And I know all of you have bought all my emotes as well. That's the worst part. I know all of you have bought them because the economy is in shambles. Because none of you want to fix the economy. You can fix the economy, but you choose not to. You choose to inflate the price. Notecoin is worthless because of all of you. You've killed the economy. Oh, God. You can't even put the eggplant into her mouth. Good. Good. Don't do that to Mashiro. Mashiro will eat you. Not in a good way either. Okay, you know, I'm feeling pretty good about this right now. I am actually feeling pretty confident about this. The only thing I am not... This is the one thing I don't know how to do. Kind of this secondary health bar that I'm a little bit, like, again, the easy way is, here's just another health bar that, like, dissipates at the end of the round or whatever. But, like, that also doesn't feel appropriate because... Yeah, because that doesn't feel appropriate because it's a little bit odd. Because, like, yeah. Because, yeah, you just immediately reduce so much. So it can't be, like... The thing is, it can't be absurdly low, but it can't be absurdly small either. It can't be in very low, nor can it be super high, because you still want people to use it. It's mostly for taking out the hordes of fucking goons. Or, you know, making defensive characters actually pretty viable, which is you want to just constantly block, or you want to constantly, you know, be a little bit more defensive for you to just do like a big takedown. If you're just being defensive, you're getting something out of it, which allows you to pretty much counter hit constantly. But sometimes you want to go on the offense. Sometimes you want to go on the defense. It kind of depends on the situation. Christ, people are talking about fucking college classes. You want pure agony? Here's a note story for everybody about my college experience. I got told very early on we had to deal with another department in my department. We had to deal with the other department. And for 3 years, I was told that was the deal. Everything was in place. Everybody knew it. And they made it sound as if it was actually in writing. Like it was an actual thing in writing. And it made a lot of sense because we were effectively going over the same ideas. Come to find out that wasn't the case. They lied to me repeatedly about that. And my fucking advisor was like, oh, well, there wasn't anything formal in place, but it was, we had an agreement with the previous dean of the other school. And I'm like, what? So I effectively had to beg one of my teachers, another professor in this other department, be like, let me count this as this. I will get approval from every department head. I will do this. And he's like, I don't know. You got to take both classes, which would have taken another year and a half, mind you, because he only offered it like once a fucking year. So it was like, yeah, that was a fun and exciting adventure because kind of give you the idea what this was department, like we'll just say Department A and Department B is saying N-words. I'm always watching. Here's the odd thing, is because what happened was Department A said they had a deal with Department B, which is like, if you take like this advanced, it was like a 300 level class. I don't know, sometimes it was like a 300 level class. Pretty much one step below. You didn't have to take two 200 level classes. Because it was the same thing, just a more advanced version of it. So it was like, okay, this is perfectly reasonable. The secret about these 200 level classes was one was offered in spring and the other was offered in fall. Pretty much you couldn't actually take them together. You couldn't take them in the same year or anything. You had to take one and then the other, which the amusing thing is, if we want to make this more precise, it would look more like this, is that this 300 level class was in fact in spring. Now, if you are a observant individual, you may understand what the issue is here. The issue is I had to take this class that wasn't being offered for a full year. I was set up to graduate already. I was already ready to go. They wouldn't let me graduate because I still had to take these 2 fucking classes, even though I had already finished a literal capstone class in that department by bullshitting. I wrote an entire fucking paper, mind you. I have an full academic term paper I had to write a full thing on and did a presentation about while horribly sick, mind you, in that department. But I still had to take the 200 level classes just because of bullshit. And I effectively had to beg to get rid of this class. And it was a miracle that I did. And like the guy who wanted to, they didn't want to. I had to go to multiple professors and get their approval, and then go to the dean of the college, explain the situation, get a written approval from the dean of the first department, of Department A, then I was able to do it. I don't understand how colleges get away with this shit. This one was really dumb because, and there was a reason I actually fell out pretty hard with this professor, is that Professor A apparently knew someone from Professor B. However, Professor B retired, leaving Professor C. Professor A legitimately believed that because they had a deal previously, an unwritten deal, mind you, completely verbal, completely in agreement with one another, that had just held, and that's what she told me. I threw her under the fucking bus, getting the dean of the Department B to effectively go along with it. I effectively had to, like, I effectively had to go to the dean, explain the situation of the second of Department B, and I was like, I'll take summer classes, I'll do legitimately anything, because it was like, if I don't do this, I would not graduate in time. And it was like, I'm not gonna cuck you out of this. That's stupid. Why would I do that? Because it would be one class. It would just be one class, mind you. And I'm like, okay, get the approval from everybody, make your case, and it'll be like this. This will never happen again, kind of thing. I'm like, thank you. I got taking my second Spanish class, and I'm not surely how. None of my teacher advisor know how. Or this decides what classes can, what don't know. They just put my classes in the computer, and the magic cyberbox said I met my requirements. Usually what happens to some, what occurs is some classes get put under things like extracurriculars, or it's counted as something else. So you might have taken a class which counted as something else that another professor put in something that their person put in wrong, even. Like that happened to me once before, where I'm like, why does it say I already graduated? Like, there was a point where it was like, oh, I'm gonna graduate like a year early. I technically have I have 2 degrees, mind you. I graduated in 3.5 years. Toot my own horn a little bit here. They're useless degrees, but it makes me feel better about myself. But it was to the point where somebody fucked up, and someone was like, oh, you're gonna be here for another 2 years. And a week prior it was, you should already be graduated now. Yeah, it was kind of a mess. Like, it was legitimately nobody knew what the fuck was going on sometimes. It was stupid. It was dumb. Big, dumb, stupid bullshit. It was great. Yeah, it was. Yes. Something like that happened to me. I somehow got a degree in art education by, yeah. The reason, like, the thing is, for like, kind of answer your question there, Ironside, is there is a culture in academia, mind you, and kind of upper academia as well, which is go with the flow and don't fuck around, because professors will try to fuck you over. This is a known fact of life. They will try to fuck you over, and just as much as they will fast line you on stuff if they like you. So it's like, nobody wants to start shit because everybody wants to get ahead. Like, my professor, mind you, the joke here being is that Professor A here adored me. They thought I was the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. And there was a point at one point, mind you, where there was Professor A. She was very, very nice, very odd in some respects. There was my general manager, my manager at the print shop I worked at, and my mother. I learned something very quickly. All three of them hated each other. All three of them despised one another. They all loved me. They hated one another though, because each one liked me. I'm not fucking with you though. That is the legitimate reason they did not like each other. Is because it was literally, they're influencing me wrong. It's great. But Professor A they liked me a lot. And I know for a fact, because I actually TA'd for her once, teacher's assistant. I know for a fact that I made mistakes on certain assignments that would normally be like, you get a B, and you're like, you would get a C or a D or an F. You failed. That she like would increase my grade and put my grade in the books better. But then like my friend, who she hated, by the way, she despised this poor fucking kid. If he made one microscopic error, he would be fucked. He would be completely screwed. And that final capstone class with her and that, because I had my group, I hated everybody in my group. We pushed through it though, completely fucked them over later on though, but I don't really care. All the people I knew were in another group. And the people in that group, what I would do, she hated everybody in the other group. What I would have to do is, she'd tell me shit about what's going on in the class, or even like her opinions on things, or what was going to be happening next. And then I would have to leak that information to the other team, because she would not tell them, or she would do things deliberately to fuck with them. But drama is happening. No drama, we're just talking about college education and how academia's fucked. Welcome to My Hero Academia, everybody. Academia Fucked Edition. It's great. I don't regret my time at college. There does come a very bizarre, like, academia is the weirdest fucking business ever. It is the weirdest shit. Because it is so, like, I don't know how I would word it, but like, every single person in academia is a dick. At like most, I would say, not every single person, but like most people in like upper academia are just assholes. Like, they're just dicks. Like, they are not nice to one another. And people are so fucking mean. They are so like, it's petty bullshit. It's so much petty bullshit. Like, it's like, I have stories. Like, if anyone ever wants to hear about college education stories, like, and it's bad. People being like, you should teach, Notepad. You should teach. You're a great teacher. I'm like, fuck, man. I don't want to go to, like, I don't want to teach people, because it's like, no, abso-fucking-lutely not. I couldn't teach people in like a formal academia setting, because it's so fucking ruthless. It's so ruthless. And nobody is happy with each other. Nobody likes one another. And you get some like extremely petty bullshit going on. And you just get a bunch of weirdos. You get like strange classes. It's nasty shit. It's some real nasty shit going up on like kind of the upper levels of things. And you don't think about it when you're like, oh my goodness, college is so great and wonderful. People, no, college sucks, guys. I hate to break it to everybody. College sucks. I think college education is good in some respects. Don't doubt me when I say that. Sometimes it is very important you get a college education. Other times it is not so good. The next time I see a theater major, I will punch you. I will beat you to death. I hate theater majors. I had to work with them for an entire semester. I did too. I did genuinely enjoy my college education. I did experience my first about 5 panic attacks in college. That was fun. It wasn't, but I almost experienced a complete mental breakdown as well because of the stress. Fun fact, complete stress break. It was great. Yeah, no, it was actually enjoyable. My first like 2-3 years, my first 2.5 years, I was having a ball. Life was great. Everything after that kind of got a little bit funky, but welcome to, again, upper academia is bullshit. Like, I don't fault people for it because it's just how the system is actually built. It's, oh hey, like, I have a paper, but this person believes my paper is doctored. This person believes this. This person doesn't believe that I have a genuine actual education. This professor was brought on board because he looks correct. This professor pretty much got fast-tracked with his master's degree, and people don't believe it's a real master's degree. Hey, we want to actually replace one of the staff members here, but none of us can agree, and we all hate each other. That was great. Like, oh, Jesus. Ooh. There was this might dox me a little bit. This might dox me a bit, but in my college, like after I graduated, one of the professors in my department was found out for doing a shit ton of meth, like just a lot of meth, and it was like, oh Jesus, Jiminy Crickets. Yeah, as you were putting out, you have the fun thing about people using. Yeah, it's, and the thing is, people have already gotten caught for using GPT, which, like, that's the one thing I would say. Don't use it for like any academic source. Do not do it. Don't. I would say it's not going to be valid until the tech gets better, and the tech ain't there yet. It is not there yet at all. If you need to like put in like some basic, like, if you need like a quick understanding of something, like, hey, please explain to me, like, I don't know, explain to me the plot of 1984, and then it's fine. But if you try to use it for anything academic, the issue with, because academic writing has its own very unique twist of bullshit that has to go along with it, and you have to remember, this is an important thing. All AI does, all AI, GPT, or whatever, all it does is take something it knows and tells you it. And it says, hey, momentum, for example. I think you were talking about momentum. It understands there's a concept of momentum. It understands there's a concept of damage. So why not use momentum for damage? Completely accurate, completely fine. It's understanding everything. It's like, okay, 1, 2, 3. It cannot like randomly produce something out of the blue. It will not understand how to do that properly. And that's kind of the issue with more academic papers, is it will not be able to do that accurately. It won't be able to understand to produce something completely natural, because people have their own way of writing things. I mean, hell, my professors would frequently, kind of chastise me, but also not chastise me, because what I would do, I would write my papers in a very certain way, which would usually be, I would try to insert humor. I would try to put like little pieces and, yeah, it's like, I put like little notes and little jokes every now and again in there, just to be like, this is my thing, and like, I would have like little sequiturs throughout things. Like the entirety of my Nigeria paper, I did a big thing on Nigeria about all the various leaders, and she specifically told us, hey, do not just list out who is in charge. I listed out who is in charge, but I made a point to being like, Nigerian politics were defined by the man in charge. And entire eras would go by who was in charge and who then took over because he was in charge. And it was like, And she was even like, you did a very good job of highlighting a very important idea. You didn't really talk about some of the theories behind it, being like, I was trying to imply things a lot more, or like put in like kind of more of a humorous idea of like this really grim idea of kind of like Nigerian politics, which are really fascinating, by the way. You should totally look it up. But yeah, I think people are going to try to do like, I'm going to write my own I'm going to write my PhD, or I'm going to write this. Yeah, it ain't going to work. I would say though, it would do phenomenally well if you're doing a PhD thesis in AI generation. I could see it doing really well there, in more of like an example, being like, hey, ChatGPT allows you to do things that aren't natural. Here's a giant example of me writing the first half of this paper as this way, and then you regurgitate the information. But as we can kind of see here, the AI model isn't perfect, and these are the reasons why. That could be kind of an interesting idea on things, which I hope you all know that in the future we will have there will be PhDs, there will be papers being effectively cited for what can the equivalent of being AI generation stuff, which I think is going to be fascinating. But AI Futures has its own. The future of AI is going to be a very complicated future, which I don't really think anyone's going to win at the end of it. I think it's going to be a lot of shit's gonna look pretty nasty. It's not gonna be great. I believe it was it's the Midjourney guy. Yeah, the AI is gonna cite AI generated material. Yeah, effectively. I'm pretty. What was that? It's the Midjourney. It's Midjourney, I believe. Midjourney AI lawsuit. Yeah, right over here. This is the big one. Yeah, Stability AI DeviantArt Midjourney named in class action suit. Which this is the big one. Is a couple artists got dinged on it. Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah. This is the unfortunate thing, which is this is the case, by the way, what I was talking about. For those who don't remember my talks on that, I did make a call that there's going to be a lawsuit at some point, and this lawsuit's going to be a nasty one, because what's going to happen is either they win, which is going to gimp, mind you, AI tech pretty hard. Like, that's going to be the idea. Like, if they win, it's going to gimp AI stuff pretty hard. But mind you, these companies do have a lot. And, the April 22nd case is going to be, like, also going to be immediately kind of be cited. And people are going to get real mad. And there's going to be some real nasty shit going on there. But if they lose, which is the way going forward at this case, which is going to be it, is if they lose, it's pretty much saying, hey, you guys, like, we're allowed to do this. Which my personal thing is, the fact that you agreed to these terms of service means that they are allowed to buy the data from a data broker or a data broker. That's kind of the issue, is your information was sold because you agreed to a terms of service you didn't read. Which, nobody reads the fucking terms of service. Very few people read the terms of service. But you agreed to this, your information has been sold, and that data has been used to train an AI. That's pretty much it. Now, mind you, can you make a case for, like, hey, this person's just using my artwork that they don't have the legal right to use? Yeah, I guess you can make an argument in that case. Like, you can make an argument being like, this person has just taken my artwork and used to train a model and now are trying to sell things from that model. Like, that could get maybe a case, but the thing there would be I think the thing there, it would be twofold. And this is what I kind of would mean by that is, do you believe, like, it would be, do you believe if a data set is massive, does this have, you know, if you're right there and this is the entire data set, like, you are a small part of like a much larger series of information being spread around, is it really like replicating or stealing your information, or is it just you're just part of a molasses of shit? Versus if you are just the only piece of information being cited, does that have a different precedent to it because it's just your things being taken, possibly unlawfully? Which this gets a little bit shaky, and this case might be the... Yeah, and I have a strange feeling there's probably going to be a little bit of a settlement out of court, but I also think that there's an argument that they can win automatically, so they might fight it out to have it in court, kind of thing. Yeah, not necessarily just data scraping, but just for everything. So it's like, you can't do this again. Like, we want to start another class action lawsuit. Being like, no, you can't. See, I've been following a little bit. This got brought up that I think is kind of interesting, is the Gonzalez versus Google case. This one's a little bit interesting. We go to Oyez a little. This popped in, and they're going to be deciding on this this next month, actually. Which is, you know, Nohemi Gonzalez, a U.S. citizen, was killed by a terrorist attack in Paris, France in 2015, one of several terrorist attacks on that same day. The day afterwards, the foreign terrorist organization ISIS claimed responsibility by issuing a written statement released on YouTube. Gonzalez's father filed a class action lawsuit against Google, Twitter, and Facebook, claiming, among other things, that Google aided and abetted international terrorism by allowing ISIS to use its platform, specifically YouTube, to recruit members, plan terrorist attacks, and issue terrorist threats. This is in kind of a, does Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act immunize interactive computer services when they make targeted recommendations of information provided by another information content provider? This one's a little bit interesting. Yeah, Section 230 is the only thing keeping certain websites online, because for those who don't know what Section 230 is, Section 230 effectively says YouTube is not responsible for me uploading the fact that I think Gilla RPG is a dumbass. I can upload that, and Gilla cannot sue YouTube. Like, Gilla cannot sue YouTube for me saying something me. He could sue me, but not YouTube. Now, what this is effectively saying is, by virtue of using the algorithm, does that make them an aggregate? Does that make them an aggregate, like a newspaper? Because if a newspaper puts out something, they are indirectly saying that this is fine. That's kind of the idea. They've approved it. You can sue the newspaper, not the writer. That's how a lot of these social media platforms actually function. That's how they kind of scrape around DMCA. Simply because it's not our fault. It's not our fault that somebody uploads something. It's their fault. We just have to do everything in our power to get rid of it. Yeah, I have a strange feeling that if I think Google's going to win the case. But I also have a strange feeling that that's why Google's been also cracking down. That's why Google's been kind of doing some weird things with its terms of service, just in case. And for those who don't know, Google's been doing some odd shit with their terms of service, mostly in lines of if you are within 30 seconds, if you say a swear word, and if you say a swear word on Google within the first 30 seconds, you get the video demonetized, which is pretty fucking bad, and age restricted even. Which the only way to prove age restriction in European countries is with a photo ID, which a lot of people are maybe not comfortable with sharing their photo identification on the internet with Google. Understandable. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting thing to note. I really do think there needs to be some kind of law passed regarding data scraping, big data in general, but I'm not sure to trust anyone enough to do anything good with it. The issue with that, McDrusel, I'm going to give you a very important and very decisive issue with that, is the US government really fucking likes data scraping. They fucking adore that shit. The Patriot Act functions because of data scraping. Nobody wants to get rid of data scraping because that is like a very big part of business now. And just because we've allowed it to kind of proliferate as much as it is, nobody's really gonna touch that. I think if anything, we might get like, we're gonna get the monkey. I think we're in the future. I think we're going to end up with a monkey case, a monkey lawsuit, which is, you know, the let me post the monkey. We're gonna get a monkey photo lawsuit, which is, for those who don't know, what a photographer did was leave a camera out in the woods. And what happened there was that he pretty much allowed these apes to go up and take pictures of themselves, and this was one of those pictures that was taken. Picture of this ape. And then he would later go on to sell it. However, it was brought up is, did he actually make this? Did he actually make this image, and can he copyright such an image? Or because a non-human entity, a fucking monkey, took the picture of it, does that make it, by virtue, uncopyrightable? And the answer is yes, it was uncopyrightable. I think there's gonna be another monkey lawsuit eventually. And my theory is, with the AI thing with it, is what's gonna happen is there's gonna be the argument is going to be that does not apply because they provided a camera and the animal took the picture. A third party took the picture. And because a third party took the picture, it wouldn't count. The monkey took the picture of itself, therefore it is uncopyrightable. The monkey took the picture, he didn't. However, with the AI, it would be because I typed in the response, because I did this, because I, saved the image. By virtue of that, I get it. The monkey lawsuit is in a kangaroo court. I don't, it makes valid sense if you think about it a little bit, because, can you copyright something that was taken by someone who legally cannot consent to it? Yeah, it's like, if I hand you my camera and then you take an award-winning photo, does that award-winning photo belong to me because you took it with my camera? That's my philosophy on the matter, being yeah, they should be public domain, or they should be under effectively they should be under a clause being they are available to anybody if you can find them. Being if technically having that sole image on your computer, you're the only one who has access to it, yeah, that's fine. But if you upload that photo, then anybody can do whatever the fuck they want with it. I think that's one of the big arguments, being I can copyright it. Because if I have an image and it is nowhere else on the internet, and it's never been uploaded anywhere else, is that mine, or is it in the public domain because it's not available anywhere else? That's where things can get a little bit shaky, and that would be, I think, the big thing on the court there. That would be an argument for that. Which, mind you, this is the amusing thing. If they were to rule in favor of the idea that you cannot copyright an image with sole ownership, kind of thing, that as long as it is publicly available and we understand that this was produced by other people with an kind of an untraceable thing, That would make certain images a little bit wonkier because, like, we can't trace the origin of this. Like, we can't, like, it's impossible to know. So it's a little bit messy there, and I don't think anybody has a good answer for it, and I don't think anybody really wants to make a good answer for it because I think it's getting to the point where it's not about the artwork anymore. It's more about data scraping. I think that's the real argument people are talking about. Be like, do they have the right to data scrape other artists' work to create a data set that is anomalous nothingness? And the answer is maybe. And you get people like Sarah Anderson, for example. Like, Sarah Anderson comic edits are hilarious, but it's like, is it really... Who do those belong to? They belong to no one. They belong to the meme god. Hoya, 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 hoya. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to fuck copyright up. If only it was that easy. People are very invested in copyright, and I don't think we'll see major changes in copyright law until we hit a how do I want to word this? Damn, copyright has hands. We won't see a major shift in copyright law until we see the mass proliferation and mass industrial scale and profit behind quote uncopyrightable unquote works. If someone can produce a book series, you know, it's kind of like that. I wonder if I can find it again. Like this, for example, this fucking dude. It's one of those things where if he can produce that book and then make an industry out of it, you know, consistently, with a lot of money suddenly involved. Once the money starts getting involved, that's where things start getting a little bit hectic. And then you start getting, it's like, does he own the rights to these things, and does he maybe not own the rights to it? And then it's maybe yes. But the thing is, it would have to be mass proliferation. Because the thing is, I told people this on Twitter, and I don't think people quite understood what I was trying to say here, is this fucking dude can pump out one of those Alice and Sparkle books every month. He can pump out one of these Alice and Sparkle books pretty easily, in fact, get everything approved. For another artist, for an artist who wants to write, wants to do everything, it might take them a month to get just the writing done, and then get all the illustrations. And this isn't suggesting you just do all the illustrations yourself, where it might take you 3 months to get one book out. It takes this guy 2 weeks effectively to get everything ready and published. And if this is more on an industrial scale, I think that'll change some of the nature of the copyright. Yeah, that's pretty much when people are starting making a shit ton of money from it, then things will change, because people will want to make money from it, obviously. You know, when Disney starts mass producing AI books, because that's just the best way to make money. Yeah. Yeah, I make a legally distinct version of Harry Potter, then I'll go fight J.K. Rowling IRL. I don't know what you're talking about. I'll have you know, J.K. Rowling has single-handedly destroyed the video game market by releasing Hogwarts Legacy into the world, which does prove, for some reason, mankind has proved once again to be not capable enough of defending themselves against anything, any mind-altering substance, because it's like, and it's so bizarre. People are like, don't buy Legacy, don't buy Legacy, don't buy Legacy, don't buy Legacy, don't buy Legacy. It's transphobic, it's hateful, everything is bad about it, all these different things about it. And I want to make a wild bet that a lot of people bought Legacy simply because people were saying, don't buy it. Don't buy this game because it's bad. I'm going to buy it despite people. Spite purchasing is a powerful tool. And I think that's I think it's very amusing in a few different cases of people doing shit like that. It's just like, yeah, the boycott made it a lot more popular by a lot. But I think that's also going to happen to Atomic Heart, because people are like, don't buy Atomic Heart because Atomic Heart is bad, and it's funding the Russian oligarchs, and they're evil and bad, and there's a lot of booba bots. Oh Jesus, there's a lot of booba bots, and it's bad and evil to buy Atomic Hearts. You cannot buy Atomic Heart. If you buy it, you are indirectly killing Ukrainians. And a lot of people now, here's the weird thing, them talking about it so much has probably boosted its signal way more than they were planning on. And it's very bizarre in that regard, and I find that fascinating. It was an inside. The boycott was clearly, yeah, it's, let's see. Skinhead with a swastika tattoo holding Nazi flag and up to the counter. One copy of Hogwarts Legacy, please. Yo, radical feminists game boycott was clear marketing. It was an inside job. Yeah, I don't even think it's a marketing tactic. People have such a level of deranged hatred toward Rowling that they accidentally played themselves. Like, that's the weird thing with Harry Potter and Rowling, because how do I tactically say this without getting canceled on Twitter? You know what? Fuck it. I respect Rowling's opinion. Is it right? Is it wrong? Don't care. I respect her opinion. It's her God-given right to have it. And if you don't like Rowling, that's fine. You don't gotta like Rowling. You clearly love the franchise. Disregard the author a little bit. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not, but it's okay to disregard the author. And if it's really that much of a problem, it's really, yeah, no, and it's like, if you clearly hate this, this woman so much, then don't engage with the book series anymore. Don't engage with that. Like, I understand it's like, this is my childhood. There's something very important. I understand that. And, sometimes people, go out and you learn more about them, and maybe you kind of colors your opinion on things. Where, later on in my life, like, when I was a kid, I really looked up to people like Total Biscuit, for example. Total Biscuit, Jesse Cox. Just because, oh my god, they're gamers and this is cool. And over time, I learned more about both of them, and it was like, yeah, Total Biscuit's kind of just a dick. Like, John Bain was kind of not a very nice person in some regards. And, like, some of the shit he said wasn't very cool. That I'm like, I understand that. I liked his content, though. Like, that's kind of the thing there. Hey, I don't have to agree with people, all the time. That's fine. But I respect people's opinions on it. Damn you, you also were into that Terraria crossplay Let's Play, huh? Oh, Jesus. That was, you found out when Notepad Adam was a filthy 4chan poster and just never saw him the same way. I know what server you're in, Noonie. I know that server you're in. You can't hide from me. You can't hide you hide your power level among others. I don't. Yeah, it was things like that, and later things Jesse's a weird fucking creature. I can't put my finger on what Jesse is anymore, but I drifted away from them. Watching the exact same, a lot, like, that's kind of the weird thing, is like so many people were watching Total Biscuit during that time. People still have fond memories of him, and that's kind of the weird thing, is like a lot of those guys kind of faded away. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were watching the same thing at the same time. You might be able to even find like old YouTube comments I left being a fucking stupid like 10-year-old being like, oh my god, I'm fucking stupid. Like, yeah, like just yeah, the guy is Jesse Cox is somewhat built different. He changed a lot though over the years. He fell in. I wouldn't say this is not a bad thing, but he fell into a habit, and that habit isn't changing. And he moved over to Twitch a lot, and a lot of things are just his Twitch clips now. Like that, a lot of them did. You gotta remember, like the Yogs cast is still going. You know the Yogs cast. Jesus. Fell directly into the soy hole and never came out. Not necessarily that. I think what happened with him was he was always Total Biscuit's number 2. That was the issue. He was always John's number 2. It was always Total Biscuit and Jesse Cox. Always in the same sentence. Man, I like Total Biscuit. Yeah, but I really like Jesse Cox as well. Man, I love Jesse Cox. I saw him on Total Biscuit. And like when John died, when John passed away of ass cancer, I think how do I want to word this? He was a second without a first anymore. Because then you get people like Dodger, not even Master and Apprentice, more like just two people that were always linked at the hip, but never, one was always the more prominent. Like, I know Dodger, I can't remember, Brooke, I think her name is. Like, Dodger would go on to marry one of the Yogs cast guys. They got like a kid, I think. She got married. She still streams though, but she barely plays any games. I don't think she plays any games anymore. I think she just talks and drinks coffee. Let's see. God, when Husky Starcraft literally manages Rosanna Pansino. Rosanna Pansino, by the way, is like a fucking tank, mind you. That woman prints money. And it's always weird, like, looking at her now, like, yeah, this reminds me of the Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. Man, I hate being Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, because every time I find a good channel, the creator catches MBT's brainworm, starts working a communist rant in every episode. Yeah, it happens. Like, it's... Because that's kind of what happened to, like, the Hoi 4 YouTubers. A little bit there. The Hoi 4 YouTubers were kind of interesting, because it was, because back in the day, it was... kind of like that 20, I would say like 2016 to about 2018, you had people like Spiffing Brit. And then it was Spiffing Brit, like I Sorrow Productions, you had Bo Cohen, you had Feedback Gaming, Vale Fisk, Maxor was actually kind of in that thing there. You also had things like Remy. God, who else was there? Who else was? I can't even remember who else was there. There was a few others. But then you get some weird ones like Spiffing Brit is like, that man prints money now. He's Yogs cast, he's everything. That man fucking prints money. Like Maxor he's doing real well. Like how much does... Like, how many subscribers this fucking guy? 1.09 million. He's over a million, mind you. But then you get people like Remy is always kind of sad to me. Because, like, Remy's got 544. He's been doing this longer. Like, Maxor started on there. Spiffing's at, like, 2 or some unholy number. Like, and some of these other guys, like, Feedback doesn't make any fucking money. Like, Feedback is not doing too hot for himself. Like, a lot of these guys, it's YouTube communities and things like that are fascinating. I've always been interested in kind of the back end of things, simply because it's weird. Hi, find your YouTube channel there. Watch a lot of your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Zephrin. Also, thank you for following, in case you didn't see that earlier. We're kind of wrapping up. I've been wrapping up the stream for like an hour here, but I like chatting with everybody. Nudie, don't do it. Don't ruin it. Let me feel good. God, that reminds me, I gotta write the fucking video. Oh, I gotta write the video for tonight. Yeah, let's see. We have the let's see what's on tonight because we got a thing. YouTube Fire Emblem community melted down a couple of years ago because the bald Norwegian sent his dick pics to OnlyFans cam girls. Perfect. That's what I like to see. Because let's see, in my thinking currently, it's because yeah, you do get the Fire Emblem community or myself, but I really like your format. Yeah, I try my best. I'm doing what I can. Are you actually? Let me check real fast. Are you in the server? You might be. You might not be. I don't know. Did not. Yeah, I have I believe I have a link here. I have a Discord server. If you ever want to see me feel sad in typed form, it should be here. It should be the white room. Oh jeez. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's let's see. Tomorrow I'm gonna be tonight what I have to do is I have to go over one game. Probably what game am I gonna go over tonight? Most likely gonna go over Enforcer tonight. I think Enforcer's gonna be interesting to kind of go over. Zephyr will probably be tomorrow. Or Dot Dungeon, depending on how I'm feeling. I have to write the script of the Fire Emblem video tomorrow. Yeah, it's gonna write the script tonight. Then we're gonna move on to doing everything. That's gonna be a long ass video. I think it's gonna be probably about 10 minutes, which that one's gonna be fun, fun with a capital F. I have the ideas for the Fire Emblem game already, and that one's. It's more fascinating to think about the Fire Emblem debacle, mostly because the best part is we're gonna get better SEO, even everybody, because we have Fire Emblem Engage. Oh, Violet, there's little engaging beyond the premise. Yeah, that's the numbers aren't looking too hot for Engage, so we're gonna see if we can't get some. Here's Colgate Chan. Apparently your rhythm of video is insane. You do it full time. I do make money outside of these. I don't make any money on the videos. You say that the rhythm is kind of insane. They're not too difficult to make. Generally speaking, I don't put in like a lot of animation or anything on these videos. I'm not too bonkers. Usually the longer videos, they have a lot more, I wouldn't say dead space, but it would be like, instead of like a little 5-second clip, it'll be like a 12-second clip because it's 10 minutes long and it's fine. I don't think anyone's gonna really complain. It's a little bit longer in some cases, and they're usually a lot more structured, if that makes sense. They don't take too long to do. Though, I will say this, though, before we talk about Fire Emblem Engage drama, because I could do that, because this is a Zatsudan, and I'm allowed to. Technically, we're at 918 subscribers. Good job, team. We're gaming, everybody. We're gaming. Everybody is watching the everybody's watching the Chrome case instead of the actual video I put out. Everyone's like, nah, we want to watch this. Nobody ever wants to watch Clooney, which is very appropriate, by the way, very appropriate. There we go. No, no, Noonie. Yes, Fire Emblem, like, apparently Engage is kind of fascinating because people are kind of poo-pooing it a little bit. People are kind of poo-pooing it. And one of the more amusing aspects is apparently the English localization has been, and I say this in the nicest way possible, skull-fucked. they apparently they changed a lot of aspects with the younger characters, apparently. Like, with younger characters, they changed a lot of their S rank. They're kind of like their maximum rank relationships to make them far less romantic. Which I understand. However, as someone who has been translating Japanese things for a while here, there is something that I think is very important to all of these things, and that is trust. If you want to change some of the dialogue up a little bit to make it a little bit less, hey, like, you love a child, understandable. I get that. Maybe change the wording rather than the entire meaning behind it. And that's what's been going on a lot, apparently, is entire meanings have been changed in the language of things, so people have been a little bit wonkier on it. So that might be a thing, that might not be that. This is $100 for the special edition, everybody. Hell yeah, I sure do love spending $100 on Ghost Marth, because that's a plot point. Ghost Marth. I did actually have to learn for that. Mind you, I did actually have to learn Fire Emblem lore for this endeavor. I did actually have to learn Fire Emblem lore, so hopefully you're all ready for like my quick summary of Fire Emblem lore, because it's fucking stupid. Let's see. By the way, did you will there be any luck to do Konosuba TRPG, since you already do the Goblin Slayer from the same traditional publisher? I did do a case of, if you look at the JTRPG 4, JTRPG 4, I believe, I did actually go over the Konosuba RPG. It's a little bit wonky, because the thing is, with the Konosuba RPG, I wonder actually, here, let me check, Yen Press, Goblin Slayer. Let's, did they actually is it still broken? Yeah, it is still broken. I did go over the Konosuba RPG. One of the issues with the Konosuba RPG is kind of a twofold thing. My copy is a PDF, because it's an extracted version of it. One thing about Konosuba is that it is by fear. It's not actually... Yeah, it failed a bit to make... failed a bit to make TRPG. The weird thing is Konosuba is by fear, while Goblin Slayer was by what's the company? It's SRS. I know that's not SRS. What the fucking who? God damn, who made Slayer? Stroke. Goblin Slayer TTRPG. If we double check this real fast, Goblin Slayer TRPG, because it was done by technically another company. Who did this? Was not this. Yeah, it's pretty much the company that did this are the guys who do Sword World directly, which is Group SNE. That was it, Group SNE. One is done by Fear, the other is done by Group SNE, because Far East Entertainment, Far East Entertainment, Inc. Is that it? Is that literally it? I know that's not it. It's a Fear TRPG. We're just gonna type that in. Yeah, Fear TRPGs. You kind of see that. You see Konosuba there. They are different companies. people think they are the same company because they are being... People think it is the same company because they are using a very similar thing, but they are actually very different. They are different, actually competing companies. And actually in that video where I'm talking about Konosuba, and in Konosuba I mentioned the fact of Konosuba was most likely made as an ad, but somebody was probably floating around Goblin Slayer at the time, and it was like, we gotta do this real fast. We gotta get this out real fast. I'm not as big as a fan of Konosuba. I really am not. I might do a video on it. I might not. It really kind of depends on how that's one of those, like, eh. Fire Emblem lore, young noble lord, incest, ancient evil dragon, incest, god, good divine dragon, mind control, your dad dies, incest, old man train, dragon lolly, fight, 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 power of friendship, Fire Emblem, incest, happy ever after. In French, we have Dark Souls by SNS, but that product was terribly translated. I'll have you know, thank you very much, that we got the better Dark Souls TRPG. We got the 5e version. Oh boy. Yeah, John Incest was Violet, who fucked his mother, daughter, grandma, sister. It is an outlier, should not have been included. Yeah, that's what I get to do tomorrow. I get to try to parse through Fire Emblem lore, because to give you an idea, Fire Emblem lore. Actually, can we do Fire Emblem timeline? This is the timeline of as you can kind of see. But the thing is, all of these are technically working together. They all technically move together at different intervals. It's great. Because everything is there, and it's a mess. It's is this the full timeline? Yeah. This is legitimately horrifying. Yeah, welcome to the Fire Emblem timeline. Because it is a timeline, but there's different ages, there's different connections, because this isn't even like this isn't even the most accurate version, because they don't include 3 houses. But it's the Jugdral arc, which moves into the Standard arc, which then moves into Elibis arc, which then moves into the Tellius arc. But the Tellius arc is technically taking place in the middle of, like, the Burning Blade saga, but that's also... All of these are related to one another, mind you. This is a thing. They are all technically related. I'm gonna give you a big secret here. The millisecond. To complicate the way, can he establish a multiverse with other games ran with? Yes. By the way, what's your opinion on FE lore? Here's the issue with FE lore, with Fire Emblem lore in general. Is I believe it's this. Let me bring this up. Where's welcome to Pinterest, everybody. Can't even fucking find it anymore. Actually, goddamn it, there it was. Right here. Lisa, be a dear, and would you watch yourself for a moment, would you? Hello, baby me. So I'm gonna give you a secret of just about any possible scenario in any form of writing. This is a very important thing that you need to understand. Is the millisecond, the half-quarter second you introduce the concept of not only time travel, but dimensional travel, and dimensional time travel, no less, things start getting, and I do quote this nicely, fucky wucky. Because apparently Engage, from what I've been gathering, Engage is like binding all the multiverses together. And like binding them all together because that's the gimmick, is that you can summon previous heroes because you're the superhero with fucking with Wiimote hair. With fucking Switch hair. That's the thing. The problem with Fire Emblem lore is that it's pretty it's simplistic. Yeah, like, it's a very simplistic lore at first. Because it's like, hey, everybody, goddess floods the world, and you do your best to try to prove humanity's good. All right, simple enough to understand. There's some war. People are being evil. All right, easy enough. Racism. Okay, dragon racism. It happens. Genocide. Okay, genocide yet again. Another holy war. Okay. Then you start getting into, after all the evil empires, it's dimensional travel, in which we have to go back in time to save ourselves from an evil fate because my daughter has come back in time, who is the exalted hero of forever, because she's got the divine blood, and because she's got the divine blood, she's super cool and super heroic. Things just keep getting messier and messier, and I don't even know where Three Houses is in, like, Fire Emblem Three Houses timeline. Like, I did legitimately believe all the Fire Emblem games were technically independent of one another. I thought that was the case. Like, they were all technically independent of one another. And none of them, like, because you get some of, like, these ones, like, oh yeah, all the old Fire Emblems were together, and there were some that were, like, direct, like, Blazing Sword into Binding Blade, or the Path of Radiance and the Radiant Dawn. Like, these were all kind of, like, little self-contained stories. And the thing is, they are self-contained stories that just feed into the bigger stories, and feed into the bigger stories. And all of them are working together, and all of them are not working together, and there's also an entire different dimension, and the gacha game is technically canon. Yeah, don't forget that. The gacha game is canon. That is an important factor you must remember. Because, what do you... Wait. Three Houses is probably another universe. They are fighting fate like Namur. Fate's was at the point where they stopped having connections in the same universe, but they're part of the greater Smash multiverse. Because yes, Smash Bros. Is canon in Fire Emblem. No, it's not. Shut up, McDrussel. It's not canon. Show me the piece where Smash Bros. Is canon in Fire Emblem. Link it to me, and I will put it in the video. I don't know my Fire Emblem lore that much. Like, no, don't hurt me like this, please. I'm begging you. Like, I am begging you so much. Do not tell me that yeah, because one of the big things about Fire Emblem that I've been kind of talking about, and what's going to be a big idea of this video, when you use an amiibo in Fate, they reference Smash Bros. Okay, that's amiibos. Like, of course you're going to reference that, but we don't talk about amiibos. But that's still miserable. But one of the ideas what I want to talk about in this video are amiibos canon? I guess they are. The amiibo spirits are canon! Oh no! Oh god. But one of the amusing things about this entire issue, you could say, is what I want to talk about is Fire Emblem TRPGs that are out there try to actually adapt to the game. They try to emulate the game one-to-one. That's kind of one thing I want to talk about, is the idea of adaptation versus emulation, which both have their places, but in this case, it's like, yes, they're usually it's trying to do direct emulation rather than trying to do its own thing. Rather than putting Fire Emblem on the table, they are trying to make Fire Emblem on the table. It's a very different process and a very different set of ideas, which I'm going to be kind of going over. Like, here are three very kind of broad categories of Fire Emblem the Adventure, Fire Emblem the War Game, and Fire Emblem the Relationship. Yeah, is it FI just running it on a really low fidelity emulator? Let me see. It's the if you use the unofficial Fire Emblem TRPG, yes, you are running it on a shitty emulator, because this is legitimately the Fire Emblem Awakening TRPG. They do copy the stats one for one almost. I think they've cleaned things up finally, but like they are legitimately just copying things one to one in some aspects, down to stats and everything. Yeah, it was unbalanced basically because simple Fire Emblem Awakening. Yeah, they just try. They're saying like, oh, we changed things. They didn't. I actually went over to this game. The other one was let's see, it was the Heroes of Light, I believe. This was the other one. Like, this was Heroes of Light. Which this is the writer over here. You kind of see TRPG development team bringing forth original fan-based universes. Nobody really follows them. We do have people talking about we do have people talking about these games, but this is Heroes of Light, which I say this is kind of like an emulation, because here's how to avoid critical hits, here's how to distribute your stats properly, and Bjork, half Bjork, you want to play a Lagoose, Beast Lagoose, Bird Lagoose, Dragon Lagoose, you want to play a Tagul, you want to play a Manaketa. The weird thing is they do actually have independent artwork. This is their artwork. This isn't taken from any of the games. But then it's like, why did you just want to emulate? Like, why did you just want to emulate things one-to-one to the point where they barely have anything for non-combat actions? It's kind of like, maybe there's a little bit to talk about here, but it's like, yeah, you want to do Dagger Breaker? Cool. You want to have some direct, you want to have all these skills and stuff. Apparently this game is pretty good. The person in my server actually going over to this particular, who's been playing this game, has said that this is actually a very well put together game. But I kind of want to talk about it more along the lines of, this is Fabula Ultima, fuck you. God. But yeah, no, it's you get shit like this. And I want to kind of talk about it being like, it's interesting that people want to dedicate so much time and effort into replicating this as much as it is. Which I understand the appeal. I get it. But it's also like, here are some things we just put together because we just didn't, this is legitimately just not important to them. Like, non-combat stuff is just not important. And if you want to talk about the idea of like yeah, this would be like one of those ideas, like, I think talking about this kind of game would be interesting to reference more along the lines of should we be making... Should we not be making Fire Emblem emulators? Should we be trying to make Fire Emblem inspired TTRPGs? And you get some things like down here, like it's a little bit wonky because sometimes people talk about it, other people don't. Yeah, I don't know what happened to this game. It's somewhere, all right. Yeah, like, ta-da. Yeah, it's a... Yeah, Heroes of Light is probably one of the better known ones. But... yeah... There aren't actually many, let's do a little bit. Why not? Let's do a little bit of the Fire Emblem TTRPG. I wonder what we have. Because... this is just linking, let me see, FERPG. Yeah, this is just another one using the system as from Fire Emblem. Yeah, you want to just play the Fire Emblem game? You want to just do the full-on promotion system? Yeah, this is emulation. It's great. I know what you guys are talking about. I love it. I love these things. Yeah, you got quite a few different ones of these. Let's do, it's from fucking 4chan of all things. Fates and Awakening, the tabletop role-playing game. Oh. Base classes. Archer. Oh no. Oh no. Let's, there we go. Creative. 2020, FE Universe. Yeah, that's another one. We got Fire Emblem D20. Want to play the Fire Emblem D20? You can. There's quite a few different Fire Emblem games out there. The problem being, there's quite a few different Fire Emblem games out there that they try to just emulate the game one-to-one, which is kind of its own... You haven't spoken since 2021. I want to reverse engineer. Yeah, no, welcome to Emblem. I'm also doing this entirely just for SEO farming because that's me. Must have a 5e version. I wouldn't. Again, there's D20 version. I wouldn't be surprised if there's just a 5e version. But yeah, that's kind of like going to be my little talk about that tonight. So I'm gonna cancel. I'm gonna call it here, everybody. So thank you all for watching. Tomorrow is, if the video goes smoothly, tomorrow I will be streaming. I'll maybe be streaming some more emo clore, but it'll be a big fucking video regardless of what I do. So I might not, depending if I'm not feeling too hot. So Friday will probably most likely start on Gachimuchi Super Smashers. That'll be our first one. Then on Saturday we're doing the Curious Chaos stream. So bear that in mind. So Godspeed, good luck. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you all on the flip side. Godspeed and good luck.